Alright, so we got some headlight buckets for a 240Z 72. Currently doing a restoration on it. These are the H4 lights we're going to put in to these buckets, these original buckets. And already taken out the old one. Actually, it's a ring from the older one. We got the newer stuff here with the ring. So I'm going to attempt to put these in, but I'm just doing the wiring right now in the car. So I want to put just these parts in so I can run the harnesses through, and then we can deal with the adjustment screws and the nylon mounts. It looks like one's missing, and my son did purchase a couple. He's only going to need one though. I got a couple more screws, adjustment screws. You notice the screws, there's a little notch on here which holds the light like that. So you're going to turn it in and out and do your adjustments for your headlight. So on the front of the car, we're going to put the buckets in here. We have a Toyota wiring that we're going to have to cut up and get it to work. We got all the wiring ran from the underneath the dash for the horn. I ran a 10-gauge for the lights, which is going to operate off some relays. And then we got the running lights and the blinkers and the horn. And I did run another ground up here, although the ground, on the chassis, but I did run an additional ground that I'm going to use just to put it on the frame. It's kind of overkill, but I'm going to do that. So let's get to it. Okay, so we got a lot of parts here. These are the bucket. These are the bucket bolts that are going to hold it into the fender. These are the adjustment screws, which are going to allow the adjustment of the headlight within the bucket. And you can see that, like I showed earlier, it's got a little looks like a washer is right below the head, and it's going to slide in there and allow for that adjustment to take place. And then you have these nylon threaded holders, which the adjustment screws go into the bucket. I think there's only one missing, so we're just going to replace one of them. They just push in. We'll see how easy it is to take out the other one. These are the older ones. They could be cleaned up and used. I don't really see a problem other than it's stripped a little bit on the top. But I think we have enough. I think there's 3 per headlight. Have to double check that. And then these springs here, he did order a couple of adjusting screws, and he got a spring. So these springs must be hard to come by. I'm not a Z guy. I'm into trucks, F100s. But I did my truck, and so I'm helping my son on his car. But I'm sure that these are probably hard to come by. So this is one off the current bucket, and then he had to get one extra with a couple of adjustment screws. Although on the receipt it shows he got 6, so I don't see the other ones. I have to find out what he did with them. Anyway, I'm gonna end up piecing them together. I painted the buckets right now, the back side, waiting for them to dry. I'll show them to you in a minute. Alright, so this is the headlight bucket here. I just sprayed the back for some protection. It's underneath the fender, it bolts from underneath, and you put the the other part in front of it. Cover for the headlight. So it'll be something like this in the car. So what I got to do is I got to knock this nylon holder in here. So I figured I'd heat it up a little bit and then use this socket, kind of hammer it down, see if that It's heating up the plastic. There you go. Oh, a little bit more. Yep. Almost there. A little bit harder surface. Yeah. Put this over here like this. Probably went down. There you go. So it goes in like that. So just a little trick, I guess, you know, any kind of rubber, plastic, just heat it up a little bit. It probably helped, which I'm sure the big hammer probably helped more. So we got that done. Move on to, I'm gonna put this plug in here and then run some wiring for the connector for the light. So I need to do that next. Okay, went ahead and stuck the grommet in there for the wiring, and this should look like that on the inside. Then you have a little place for the spring which holds the headlight when you start adjusting. So anyway, I went ahead and I cut the wiring harness because I need to feed that through, and I'm going to put a connector on the end of it, so we can then plug it into the other side of the wiring harness. So I'm using connectors from Vintage Connectors, and it's all the connectors for the model of the car, the Datsun. So they work really well. Comes in different type of kits. I'm not getting paid to advertise this thing. I'm just showing you because I really like it. Plus you can order individual pieces too from their site. But it's really nice, and it also comes with a depending on what you get, you also get the crimping tool, you know, to do the connectors. And if you've never done this before, once you do it once, you're gonna love it, and you're gonna end up doing it all the time for all your different connectors. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and feed this through, and then I'll show you how I do the connector in a minute here. Okay. All right. Okay, I go ahead and strip down the wires. You want to be real careful. You don't want to strip off too much, because all you want to do is you just want to get it you want some of the insulation to be held back, so you just want to get a little bit of the wire in there, and you'll see what I'm talking about once I do this. So I do about that much, if you can see it, and this might be too much. So you got a ground, you got a low beam and a high beam coming to the light. So it's a 3-pin connector. I'm going to do the blade side first. So this connector is going to have this on this side, and I'm going to use this style of a blade connector. So what you have to do now is you set up the crimping tool. Just open it up, and you got different slots for different sizes. So we're going to use a 16 to 14. And you go ahead and just, well, dropped one. You go ahead and insert it in here like this. See how the jaws kind of grab it? You got to make sure that on the other side, those little teeth right there are sticking out. So when you crimp it, it doesn't smash it down. So I'll do the ground one here first. And looking at it is long, so I'm going to cut some of the wire that I stripped back off a little bit. Okay, now go ahead and just insert it and get some of the insulation in there so it bites. Push it in, down, you got it done. Now at this point, you can run with this. I'm going to put a touch of solder on there just because I want to. But once again, just insert it, crimp it down like that. It holds it in place. Okay. Put it in. And it's that easy. Okay, I need one more. It's the one I dropped over here. Alright. Put it in the tool. You can see how easy it is too. It's really, well, that ain't it. Really easy to do. Go ahead and grab another one. They gave you plenty of these in that kit. And see? Last one. Push it in. That's it. So that's done. Then what you would do is go ahead and, this is the one for the blades. You would slide it in. And let me get the soldering iron set up though. Okay, back at it. So what I also did was I got some heat shrink and I put some on to the wires, because once I get the connector on, I'm going to cover up the back side of the connector and then have this smaller piece of heat shrink here. And they had this type of protective cover on the wiring, but what's going to happen with this is, you know, when I'm going to have to pull a little bit to connect the inside to the headlight, right? So I'm going to use cloth tape, and this cloth tape is used for auto wiring, and that'll allow me to pull it through the hole there and still protect the wire a little bit. I mean, this is the part I really want to connect or protect is the connectors, you know. So we're going to do that now. Okay, so I'm just going to put touch of solder on the wires. I'm going to put touch of solder on the wires. So I'm going to, soldering gun is nice and hot. Just going to put the tip on there and just touch it and drop a little bit on there and let it soak in. Just make a really good connection. Even though I'm probably okay with the connection I have, it's probably overkill. A lot of guys are probably saying, yeah, I don't need to do that. But, you know, I got time. I could do it. It's not going to hurt it. Alright. Just a little bit. Doesn't take much. That's it. Okay, so now we're going to put the connector on. I'm going to do, the bottom's going to be the ground, and I'll just put either one in there and I'll figure out which one's high beam and low beam later. But for those of you that have never done this before, you see that on the connector there's a little clip that sticks out, and once you stick it into that hole, it's going to hook onto the bottom part of the plastic there. And if you ever want to get them out, you got to use a tool like this, and you would slide it into there and flatten this part down to pull it out. So what I did do with the wiring harness out of the car, I kept it, because some of those connectors I can still use by just removing the pins. So I did that too. Okay, we're going to slide these in. So like I said, we're going to use the ground on the bottom one. It's a three pin connector. So just go ahead and it locks in. Once you hear it click, it's kind of hard to see, but it grabs the bottom. Go ahead and slide this other one in. Okay. Take this other one. Just like downtown. Take the needle nose and make sure we're good here. Looks like it's okay. Yeah, there it goes, locked in. So if I ever wanted to take it out, I would just put that puppy in there and push it down and then pull it out. Come right out. So I'm going to go ahead now. I'm going to do the heat shrink and then put this one over the top. Kind of like that. Heat it up. Alright, so okay, so I finished up, did the shrink wrap, then I wrapped it with the cloth tape so that I could have it on the inside too. One thing that I should have done before I did all the taping was figure out which wire was which, so I went ahead and ran continuity checks from here. Low beam, this is low beam here. This is high beam, this is ground. So what I did on the connector, because I knew, remember I said that this was going to be the ground, I just put a black dot. This is my high beam, just for reference. So that's the one bucket, and I'll do the same to the next bucket. But thanks for watching.